Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Heretic Hammer podcast. I am your host, Marshall, and this is my co-host, Dylan.
Hero.
All right, it's been a while.
It's been a few weeks for us.
Yeah, I moved. It was a whole endeavor. Turns out, moving always is. But I've got my computer in a state at least to record. I can't say it's fully set up because I don't have a monitor plugged in. But these are the things we just deal with. We just roll with the punches.
Absolutely.
But today, Dylan, it is the beginning-ish of the month.
Sorry, I'm just trying to pull something out of my pocket.
We get like the Declaration of Independence in there.
Sorry, I'm also wearing like a really pretty red dress over the pants. Hang on. There it is. Okay. So if you can hear that, I'm actually handing Marshall an envelope.
Oh yeah.
And Marshall, my birthday party is coming up in a few weeks, and I was wondering if maybe I could invite you to it, and we could also, maybe talk a little bit about Gundam. If I were to invite you to my birthday, what would you have to say about that?
This is where I then tear the envelope in half. I know, everybody gasps.
No!
And then I lean in as I brush your tear. I'm going to kill you. In Minecraft.
Heck yeah! That's right, folks. It's time for another episode of Mobile Suit Gundam. Dylan's counterattack. Just wild beat communication. I just feel rhythm emotion. Today, we're talking about Gundam Wing.
Oh, God. That laugh turned so painful.
Y'all weren't ready.
I wasn't. I drank my cola and my nondescript cola.
30 years in the making, and we're finally here.
Oh, I don't know if you could hear that, but it was because I laughed. It caused me to burp like in three various ways. Oh my God. Oh, that was good.
All my Beeps fans out there,
Oh, that
Had
you know
to do
what
it
I was
for
gonna
you.
say. I have to note right away. I was actually upset when the 30th anniversary animation came out, and the song was not Just Wild Beat.
Yeah. There was a part of me that was like, I respect using the second OP's music. I respect it. But there was a small part of me that was like, wouldn't it be wild, as it were, if they went with that instead? 30 years ago, an anime came out, technically more than 30 years ago, but an anime came out called Gundam Wing. And while it wasn't the first Gundam anime to be released in Japan, it was the first Gundam to be broadcast in these United States of America.
Yeah.
And so us Yanks were introduced to Mobile Suit Gundam properly as Gundam Wing premiered in the year 2000 on Toonami. And our lives were changed forever.
Absolutely. We were truly thus blessed with the world of Gundam. Though, can I note the wildness that is the fact that this was, and I'll say it off the bat, right? This being the first Gundam we got great, like huge W. I know it's also kind of there's a joke there, but I mean a different type of W.
Very large, very noticeable W.
Yeah. But it really was like great one to start on. But can we talk about that? The next one, as far as I know, that aired in America was then G Gundam.
Yeah.
Like, what a flip. What a flip to go. Because granted, they clearly were like, because in Japan, G Gundam came out first, which if you don't know G Gundam, it's wild. It's wild. It's a whole
It is
thing.
wild. I cannot wait for the day that we talk about it.
Yes, it's gonna probably be some type of time, but like, yeah, it will be discussed because we cannot have this segment of our show and I cannot talk about Tequila Gundam. All right, like it can't happen. I have to talk about it, but
it's required.
It's just the funny nature to it. About it to me is it's just like, because they were like clearly from like Japan's perspective, they're kind of like, we're gonna kind of just like we're gonna go a little buck wild, like this was the first one that wasn't in the UC, and they were like, let's just go ham, and we'll just
let's go even further from the UC, just as much
as
we can.
Let's essentially make what if we had the Dragon Ball team make a Gundam show, essentially. And then they were like, all right, guys, we went a little ham. Let's dial it back. Gundam Wing.
All right, yo.
We had our fun. It was a good time. We got it all out. And I know someone's going to be in the comments and be like, you don't understand. G Gundam actually had some amazing socio warrior. There's a horse Gundam.
That's a really good impression of me.
I don't want to hear it. There's a horse Gundam. There's a horse Gundam. I don't want to hear it.
There is a horse Gundam, and they are important.
They are important, and that I don't know if that's worse or better for the quote unquote seriousness of the show. Anyway, Gundam Wing is what we're talking about today. I just wanted to point that out.
Mm-hmm. So we have also established on this show that Gundam Wing was also not just America's introduction to Mobile Suit Gundam, but it was largely your introduction as well.
Yes, I always, when I have thought about Gundam, I mean, granted, the two Gundam I actually watched as a kid were Wing and G Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I definitely watched G Gundam way less because my main thing is really to only remember the main character. I don't remember his name, but like the main character is like Look. And that I had what was, I forget what it's supposed to be, but what we with the American dub called Burning Gundam.
Yes.
But it was like God Gundam or something. What was it? Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
So they probably just like
proper. I have always referred to it. It should be the GF-13 God Gundam, I want to say.
Yeah. But I'm guessing they didn't want it to have God Gundam. I've
always called it Burning Gundam.
Well, because they probably didn't want it to be God Gundam. Like American stores probably weren't into that. So,
well, there's a few. It's funny because when you look at Gundam Wing, there was a few translations and changes that the Ocean dub made that redirect from that. Like one of the characters' nicknames was the God of Death originally, and that was changed for the English dub done by Ocean.
Right, and. I was gonna say, because I saw that, because there were periods where I had the dub and subtitles on at the same time. But, and actually what's funny, I should note, is when I watched this is in a unique scenario where I watched it with both the sub and the dub at various points.
At the same time?
It's switched.
Multi-track dubbing?
About when I got about, I would say like 14 or so episodes in, Gundam Info added the English dub to the YouTube playlist of this show that they have, which is how I watch the show. I watch it through Gundam Info's YouTube page, which
Shout
you should
out,
too, because
listen,
it's there.
We're not sponsored. We're not sponsored, but honestly, shout out to Gundam Info for existing.
Yeah. No, it has been integral to my ability to learn about series and know where shit is. Like it has like much like, like it's a wiki, so it's different, but like, much like how like if I'm pointing a direction for a new Warhammer person to like where do you begin your internet deep dives, right? Because people always see the normal fandom wiki. And I go like, no. Lexiconum. That's the good one. Like it's Gundam Info has felt like that.
Definitely. It is a fantastic resource and has made it possible for a lot of people to revisit these series after a long period of time where they weren't able to because it wasn't easily accessible online or, even trying to find it again via standard television channels in the aughts. We were struggling when it came to wanting to rewatch something unless you were willing to take to more nefarious means.
Yep. Sail the seven seas.
Sail those seven seas.
Yep. And and so like so then like a portion of the way through, because I was going through actually pretty slowly, because the biggest way that I go through these series is when I am doing editing shifts at work. I always have something on while I'm editing, because the type of things that I edit when you edit for news, you don't edit. It's not always that intense, right? Like not everything you do is like crazy. Like I got to focus and make whatever. Like there's a lot of things where it's just like, I'm just putting pieces of B-roll together, or like I'm finding a single sound bite and setting that on a timeline for pad, like there's a lot of small editing. There's tiny editing that you constantly do. And so I always have something on. So at various points it's YouTube, but having Gundam on had been very helpful for it in the past. Because I was able to partly do it with the movies because they were the movies. So like the way they got condensed was like a little bit easier. But it was getting tough to do it with Gundam Wing because I was really then trying to like super focus on like what is going on, So I couldn't really watch it while like going with work, because if it was dubbed, then I could do whatever. So when the dub came out, then I just started flying through it because I had the time, while I'm like in the out, and like essentially I can spend borderline 8 hours of this show running, so you can just go right through it. Obviously it's not a full 8 hours, but like, you know what I mean? And
totally.
So like it was kind of a blessing that the dub showed up, but it was interesting because now I got to kind of see, I started to examine then, I was curious because this is an old time of dubbing. So I'm like, I wonder if there's anything weird or bad with the dub. And from what I gauged, not really. Most of the translations are pretty there. Nothing was like crazy that I saw. Granted, I didn't see everything, but it was just kind of, most of the things, it was just like small localization changes. It wasn't like some of them that are like of the time that went like really weird with the change of dubbing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so let's start diving in.
Let's do it. Let's just get right into it. Let's talk about Gundam Wing.
Yes.
Marshall,
Yeah.
this was not a show. Well, it was a show.
It was a show.
More or less
I mean,
sense.
let's start off. We're not off to a good
When
start.
I was a kid,
Yes.
right? Prime Toonami hours. You know, it's the early 2000s. I'm doing everything in my power to stay up late so that I can see the shows that would air after midnight, which was always difficult because, of course, I had to be up at 6 a.m. for school the next morning. Everybody knows the struggle.
Was this on the
You know,
post midnight?
But we fought, I'm pretty sure, because the interesting thing about Gundam Wing is that they would air, if I'm remembering this correctly, they would air a cut version of it before midnight, and then they had an uncut version that was aired after midnight.
That could make sense because
Which was very like,
yeah, I was gonna say because I definitely watched it at daycare.
it was very new for the time for like any anime series to be aired that way.
Yeah.
But I remember staying up late so that I could catch, you know, my Dragon Balls. Had to watch Dragon Ball Z. And, you know, if it happened to be on, I would catch Cowboy Bebop. That was my introduction to that show at that time. But the mainstay was Dragon Ball. I was totally tuned in for Dragon Ball. And then I remember seeing the Toonami bumpers with Gundam Wing in them and like saying like coming up Gundam Wing, and it was really cool, but I wasn't familiar with it at all. And so I would just be like, all right, I gotta fight to stay up to catch the rerun of this episode or whatever it is so I can see what's actually going on with this, because everything they showed in the bumpers and stuff was just immediately cool. It looked different from anything else that I was watching at the time. You know, obviously, at that age, I'm not thinking a lot about like the unique art styles of different mangaka. And, you know, so seeing something so totally different from like Toriyama's work, I'm just like, whoa, it's so crazy and looks so cool. It looks closer to Sailor Moon, which at that point I had seen a lot more of. Like I was heavy into Sailor Moon. And so there would be a few nights. Usually it was like the best time was Friday nights going into the weekends. But yeah, I would really try as best as I could to stay up late to see Gundam Wing. And it paid off because I would watch it and I'd be like, this is insanely cool. And I would remember that until the point where I got into college and was like, I want to watch a lot more of Gundam. You know, I know about some of the Universal Century stuff and I want to kind of reacquaint myself with that. And I basically turned myself into a giant Gundam nerd. Once I had reached the age in like high school and that where I was like actually able to stay up late more often and catch reruns on it. So Wing was definitely also a part of my introductory process into Gundam as a whole. And this series, what's so funny about it is we've spent so much time in our previous episodes talking about that Universal Century timeline, about the original Mobile Suit Gundam. And this show is very unique in that it is entirely in its own timeline. Called the After Colony timeline, or AC. It's totally separated out. When we start the show, the concept of it is already very different from what we are used to talking about with this podcast. Everything to do with Operation Meteor is very different from our familiar, like, you know, Earth Federation versus Xeon conflict that we're so acquainted with. Like, it's very different to begin with. How do you feel about Operation Meteor and the 5 scientists that put it all together?
So actually, that is a whole thing. So
It is, for sure.
It honestly, the big thing about it is that it goes through kind of my whole thing that I have with this show, uh, sorry, it kind of goes through my whole thing that I have about this show, which is that it it kind of suffers consistently from who's the real enemy syndrome. And Operation Meteor kind of, I think, and the scientists themselves are kind of the epitome to that, of why it kind of ends up being a problem. Because, we kind of just get like a ley line, like Gundams were sent down to do the whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of like, and obviously as we learn, it's meant to deal with Oz, and then they're going to take out Oz, and they're going to go, and they're going to, and it's to like essentially help with the freedom of the colonies, because realistically, even though the Alliance is not great, because of a number of bad things that they did do, there's some questionability about maybe some of the things that otherwise is happening. Like,
Yeah.
so it's like you're given the idea though that going into this, Oz bad, right? But like, yeah, why is Oz bad? But then it's like it kind of seems bad because like even though this alliance, as we kind of get showcased, kind of did some bad things,
Mm-hmm.
One way or the other, they are in charge and currently are at least trying to find a way to unify and deal with both the colonies and the like countries on Earth, which granted now all have various changes to names.
Yeah.
I always forget. I've just been saying the Alliance, but I've forgotten their name and cannot find it.
The United Earth Sphere Alliance.
United Earth
Is that what you're thinking of?
Alliance. Yes.
UESA.
So yeah, like, but that's kind of where like I feel like what I start to kind of get is that I feel like the Gundam pilots, like Operation Meteor's kind of job is, we don't know. Obviously, we don't know why explicitly they just want to get rid of Oz, but at least like what it feels like when you're watching it is it's like you're kind of like, okay, well, Oz, while there's some questionability about how the Alliance came to power, one way or the other, there is a status quo, and Oz is trying to break that status quo, which might kind of partly be an issue, right? Because, I mean, they immediately try to assassinate a guy who's, just essentially a dude with his daughter, as far as we know. And granted, they actually try to kill multiple of the guys, but but you're using a bomb for that. So yeah, like, and then obviously as the whole thing goes on, you're like, well, why is Oz bad? And it's just like the whole show is constantly shifting who's the real antagonist, and it's just like, what the thing I run into with that is that like it was like at some point I'm just kind of like, can there be one enemy? Because like by the end I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So like in the end of it I'm just like, what was the point of Operation Meteor? Really, like what is actually the point?
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I feel like it almost stems from a desire to create and to explore a conflict that is more complex than the what had come before in the Universal Century timeline, instead of just having these like two very distinct sides, as it were, where you had Xeon and then you had the Federation. There was definitely, it seems like there was a desire to explore having the conflict occur between like companies and factions that don't necessarily represent, you know, Earth and the colonies by themselves. I think a big part of that is having like the existence of the Gundams and what they were made for now no longer being a case of like this is made, like the Gundams have not been made solely for aiding in the Earth Federation's fight. You know, they're almost like this rogue unit that, instead of acting as like a support unit for the Federation, have their own agenda. They've been created for their own specific purpose. And it's the scientists that, you know, assign each pilot and tell them to that, like, Oz is who we need to target. Oz is the enemy.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily just about, like, you know, like I say, Xeon's out of the picture, and it's not even a matter of like the colonies as like a generic enemy. It's Oz specifically, and you're getting all these different like the Barton Foundation, you know, who was going to be dropping their colony and things like that, getting them involved. It definitely feels like they wanted to go for something a lot more complex, and I can understand feeling that it kind of results in getting like lost in the sauce with how much is going on. This series has a lot of like double crossing and betrayals and a lot of like drama associated with it, and
yeah, you tell me.
It is a lot. It's a lot when you compare it to the Gundam series that we have discussed already insofar. I can definitely see how it's a little like, okay guys, slow down, like let's can we
to
chill?
really placate to that, on the Gundam wiki, which I just mostly use for visual reference, for like characters and the Gundam, or like the different mobile suits in general. Gundam Epion shows up under 3 different factions.
Cool. Correct.
Yeah, Epion, dope as fuck Gundam.
Epion can't be contained.
But like also it's under 3 factions. So yeah, it's also, man, poor Wing Gundam. OG Wing. That thing gets tossed around. That thing gets fucking abused.
Hey, you know what? I just realized I gotta go run to Burger King real quick and grab myself some dinner. Wu Fei, you can have Gundam Wing now. I don't need it.
Not even that. It's just like also just like constantly gets chucked in the ocean. Like, man, guys,
I'm so sorry.
I parked it in the bottom of the Atlantic.
Troa wants to borrow Gundam Wing so that they can take it to an influencer party. Yeah, I left it. Where did I leave it?
Oh, damn it. I left it at Zex again.
Oh, it's with Zex. That's where it was. Hey, here's the keys. Go have fun. Yeah, no, Gundam Wing gets passed around. For
Not
sure.
Wing Zero, just Wing.
Just Wing gets
Wing Zero goes
passed
between
around.
2 people, which is mostly a single swap at one point. But like, yeah, it's just like that poor Gundam. It's the titular Gundam, and yet,
and it's great. It's totally great. It's totally fine. Wing Gundam, if you can hear us, you're totally fine.
Wing Gundam, if you can hear us,
honestly,
blink twice if you need to be rescued. Yeah, Yeah. So
I
I
kind
want
of
to.
appreciate Wing Gundam for its simplicity, if I'm being honest with myself.
Oh yeah. Well, so I want to talk about the
It's a
mobile
very
suits
good, simple
later.
design.
Yeah. I want to talk about the mobile
Sure.
suits later as a whole.
Sure,
I think
sure,
the
sure.
first thing I really want to. I think I should go over like what did I think about from like just an overarching
Yes.
like thing of the show, right? Let's go over base review.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, unlike being able to have a movie, this I had to watch in its full, almost 50 episode glory, uh, and it's there's a number of times I think when I've been watching some of these Gundam series now, right? Because I will be upfront. I have watched Gundam Wing, and I have also then watched another series in the meantime.
We'll get to it.
Yes, but I'm just noting, like, it's not like I just finished it, right? And
Right.
so a thing I think I noticed a lot is it's how does a series benefit or maybe not benefit from having like 50 episodes, right? And I think so far I've continually seen more evidence that maybe like 40 is like the solid number, or something. Because at some point,
It's
some of these
interesting.
it feels like there are points where it's just kind of like here's an episode where just kind of something happened. And granted, there's two recap episodes in this series.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything, really, there's 47 real episodes.
It's interesting to think about how the original Mobile Suit Gundam series, if you recall, was under 50 episodes. And that was mainly because the show didn't get like continued. If you recall, it was like effectively ended. And it's weird how, whether they intended for it or not, Tomino had found kind of a sweet spot. And I mean, he made the changes that he wanted to make when they did the movie trilogy later. But there have now been several Gundam series, and a lot of them are different, numbers of episodes. Some of them are just like short series with just like several episodes, and others go on and effectively have multiple seasons to them. But I agree that like the sweet spot feels like, I would say, somewhere between 30 to 40 episodes. Especially if the primary story isn't like, if the intention behind the series is not necessarily to debut a ton of new Gundam models or, reveal a bunch of new mobile units for the purposes of like selling model kits.
Right. And so kind of going from that then, one of the because so the plot itself I think generally develops fine. It's just more of like that realm where like there's points where I was just kind of like, all right, can we maybe move a little bit? I think, but like, I think honestly, one of the times that really came to fruition with me was when we got to the point that I was kind of referencing where, Zex or, what my, what's his, Miliardo Peacecraft.
Yeah, Eric Peacecraft. Yeah. Zex Merkis.
Yes, but like when they're kind of doing the flip flop on the Gundams as they're kind of trying to introduce the Zero system, which I'll talk about in a second. But they're kind of doing this flip flop, right? And it was kind of in that point because you know, like they're trying to showcase like the, you know, like the Gundam is showing you various futures, and here's the one, and so it's and like what will happen in battle, and like what your outcome is, and blah blah blah. Like, you know, as much as I was looking forward to the essentially, once I kind of realized it, like as much as I was looking forward to the concept of essentially sanguineous fighting, um oh fuck, dude. Why have I Conrad of my brain? Too many things going on in my brain right now. Essentially sanguineous fighting Conrad Kurz, in terms of the I can change destiny and destiny must be fulfilled. Yeah, like
Yes, the dynamics that are often at play.
it felt like it was done in such a strange way, giving that it was happening through trays. And it's, again, just like the continually strange realm to me of like how this, where the plot is going, right? Because it's at this point where I also am like, where are we going? Like, what do we want? You know, usually I default to a Gundam plot kind of being some flavor of why war is bad. And up to this point, it was generally that war, it was kind of the concept that war is cyclical, right? Which is a theme in another one that we'll get to, another series. But it kind of seemed like it was in a way where it was just like war is cyclical, right? That there will always be fighting, and fighting will not lead to peace. Only diplomacy can lead to peace. And that's fine. That's where we were kind of living, you know, but the Gundam pilots are kind of like, you know, not really into that. Got to get rid of this these Oz doofuses. But
I found this
yeah,
series to be a really interesting parallel to 0079 because the theme we've kind of established with our previous shows is the civilian that is transformed by their experiences into a soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes Gundam Wing kind of step away from that while still kind of grasping on to this overall like warfare, how warfare shapes humanity, how it affects our choices, is that with this series, it's much more a case of like your characters starting out as relentless soldiers with a very specific mission who are sort of regaining their humanity back or learning how to become more human and see alternatives to their conflict and to their mission that they didn't think were necessarily possible before. It's a nice like reversal of, you know, what we've kind of come to expect from what we've seen previously.
Yeah, unless you're Wu-Fei, in which you barely learn anything until the literal end of the show.
Hey, man. Hey, man.
And is constantly misogynistic, despite supposedly being the only one canonically with a wife up to this point.
If he wasn't out piloting the Gundam Wing right now, he'd be very upset with you.
But, yeah, so, and that's the thing. So, like, the plot kind of goes from, it starts in this realm of, like, the concept of, you know, war is bad. You know, we should find a way for peace to, you know, and like okay, so that stays the overarching plot, right? War bad, diplomacy should reign, right? That stays.
Yes.
That part at least is consistent. So if you want to label one plot device that is true, that rings true, no matter what, it's that. the way it happens shifts. So like it starts from, you know, peace will be achieved when we get rid of the one who is attempting to disrupt it, right? And then it shifts kind of into this whole like warrior culture mentality kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the person and the character that suffers from this shift in the mindset of the plot is Zex. Zex goes from honestly being like the most interesting character to me and actually having like an amazing like desired revenge plot, but then like attempt at redemption, whole like great, like just great movement, you know? Like he's so complex, but like also like it's clear, like he's clear, his intentions are clear. And then for whatever reason, he steps into that zero suit or that zero system and they just decide like he's just going to be guy who throws away every shred of, you know, like every shred of his moral compass, character and desires to just be like, I'm evil now. And it's so disappointing because like Zex actually is, like I said, he's got like his actions, his motives, and his development, they all move wonderfully because, you know, he starts as he's this kind of cocky, but like, you know, measured, you know, pilot who, you know, is much, you know, and obviously like he's got the mask, right? You can see it on the screen. He's got the mask. He's kind of supposed to be
we'll
the
get
like,
to that in a second.
Yeah, he's supposed to obviously kind of be like the Char replacement kind of thing.
A lot about him is very much an analog to Char.
Yeah.
Many aspects about him, yes.
But in many ways, at least from what was going on, is that he was really, it was kind of in a way like a really nice, almost kind of nicer way of going about it, especially given the way that Char ends up through the movies. But like
it feels refined almost.
Yeah.
Like a refined take on that character.
Exactly. And like I can't wait to go over further versions of this in the future. But like you know, yeah, like the, you know, but like, so that's the thing. He's working with Oz, right? He then, you know, he takes back his homeland, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, you know, he's like, all right, like I've done my duty. And as Oz is kind of beginning to ramp itself back up, you know, they kind of go back, like, are trying to figure out like, oh, hey, like, because he, you know, he wants to have this like final fight. And this is where at least the whole warrior thing kind of like starts, like the soldier, you are a soldier, once a soldier, always a soldier kind of mentality first at least appears. So I won't say it comes out of nowhere later, right? But like, you know, it's just kind of like, hey, let's fight and duel. And like, they don't get to actually finish, but it's enough for Zex to kind of realize like, hey, I've done what I needed to do. What, you know, and I got what I wanted, and Oz is kind of moving in a direction I don't want to move in. So I'm going to help you guys get out. You can go, right? That's kind of where like a little bit of the shift comes in. And then all of a sudden, you know, now that's when he starts then appearing as Miliardo Peacecraft, kind of trying to help, you know, his sister, you know, Relina, like from afar.
Yes.
But, and like, I kind of got why he kind of floated between it was actually really smart, right? The reason he floated was because in one case he would go to somewhere and be like, "Hi, I'm Zex Marquis," and in the other place he'd go, "I'm Milliard or Peacecraft," because there is technically no actual evidence that they are the same person.
Yeah.
So because the whole game, the war game that ends up happening is that they try to pull is, public opinion. Because like Oz wants everybody to side with them, so they're trying to, make it seem like they're such good people. But this is kind of where like this part I will not mind. When I talked about kind of the moving target, right, for antagonists, this is the one I think I actually truly understood and I actually liked in a way. So, which was that the difference between members of Oz and the Rockefeller Foundation. Because it was then it becomes like really clear, like, okay, so you've got Oz, who is miffed about what the Alliance did, right? The fact that they just kind of blew a bunch of shit up, got rid of even just peace-loving countries, and were like, you're in us now. You are part of us now. And they're like, nah, we're not into that. So, and we're gonna get revenge for that. But then you've got, the classic scenario. You've got, big wigs up at the top being like, but now I want the power.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the Rockefeller Foundation. And and like, so like that to me actually did make sense. And I actually kind of like that because there's early inklings when like Trey's, has the duel with Wu Fei, right? Where it's like, and like the way there's some other interactions happen where it's like, like clearly, like, yeah, they want you to see a lot of these Oz characters as like real people and like with like different wants, desires, and like, like that they do seem to have like a genuinely like positive goal in mind, right? So like that's why like this twist, if you will, like made sense to me because it felt like they were building up to it. Because you never know who the leader, the bigger leader, all these people that Trey's talks to in various scenes, you never know who they are. But they make you believe that Trey's is the one in charge, right? And in a way he was. But like, then all of a sudden it becomes a lot clearer, like, oh, no. Like, so there's a lot more going on here. They capture Raylina, they go through, they're kind of like, and then all of a sudden the Rockefeller Foundation folk we start seeing their meetings and it's like, oh, okay, this is a whole extra thing. And that's why they essentially kind of went forward with this plan, was because it's kind of let them do an Alliance 2.0, but find a way to do it kind of under the rug and in a way that would be good to public opinion, because essentially it's that realm where it's like, we can, when we tell people we want peace, then it's like, hey, we live. It's kind of like the mafia like mentality, where it's like,
yeah,
hey, we protected you, we saved you from these bullies. Like, so maybe
we're all about pacifism too. Just pay us your protection money, and we will be happy to keep the pacifism alive.
Exactly. So like I kind of got it honestly from that. Like that one I got. But like then they like really ramp it up, and it's kind of like, and the other Oz members like kind of get out, and then it starts getting in that realm of like, obviously I get that the scientists make mobile suits for Oz because they're essentially under the gun, right? They're like, we're gonna work through this, but they're so like, oh, this is just going to plan kind of ways of doing things.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, what is the goal here? And then White Fang shows up, and I'm like, what in the fuck?
Now you have another rebellious faction to kind of keep track of.
And Kitsune makes no sense because it's just like, okay, so you followed a dude who was like, hey, we should try to be passive. We need to be peace minded. Let's work on pacifism. We did bad things. Let's redeem ourselves for this, right? Like let's do better now. And he gets assassinated, purportedly by Oz / probably the Rockefeller Foundation.
Yes.
Because
Oz is essentially an extension of the Rockefeller Foundation. So
yeah, and that was the thing. So like, it was just like, so like this turns him into he's driven by revenge and all that, and it's just like, bro,
always comes back to revenge.
I know, but it's just like this is where it gets to me, because then all of a sudden now our new antagonists entirely become this premise of like, like where it's just like to get some form of redemption or revenge, will you betray all of the things you once fought for, and like there's like 3 subplots. It's like revenge, whether or not war should be fought with real soldiers or robotic ones, and how can you achieve peace through pacifism alone or through war? Can you find peace? And that's the problem. There's 3 different stories.
Is true peace predicated on acts of violence?
Yeah.
With the intention of creating that
Which
peace.
I will note. I want to note first, because I want to start with that. This show 100% only consistently makes to the point that peace can only be resolved through some form of battle, because all of the peace that happens is resolved because, now granted, you could state that like, at least if you're just defending yourself, it's a different story, but like one way or the other, the violence happens and then it's resolved.
Yeah.
So to necessarily truly say like, if one fixes it or whatever, like, it doesn't necessarily show how pacifism alone could actually lead to a peaceful solution, especially in this type of combat with these like massive weapons and mobile suits and all that, So like that, I feel like was kind of like, I don't know that necessarily proves the point it wants you to take away. And then, the like revenge or like the soldier plot point, because the soldier plot point kind of ends up being the main thing that Hiro and Zex fight about. And what bugs me about it is that's like, it just felt so unnecessary to have, Miliardo essentially, like betray everything that he cared and desired.
Yeah.
To essentially accomplish nothing. He showcased no goal but to just be a soldier. And I think, and that's the problem, because I was supposed to saddle with this, do you fight war with soldiers or essentially AI, right? Because they introduce the mobile dolls, which, like are fully automized robots built on combat data and were essentially supposed to be perfect, which only extended to people who did not pilot a Gundam.
Yeah.
because they'd be like, nobody, and they would constantly, it would just be like, what? Nobody can land a shot on a mobile doll, and then like heavy arms would show up and just obliterate like 100 of them. Which is funny when you think about it though, because once the mobile dolls show up, like the Gundam pilot kill count technically really goes down. Like
It's one of those
it
things,
really plateaus,
you know,
because they're all robots. They're not piloted by a human.
At a line graph, you know, if you're real on a technical sense, if you put the line graph together, you can look at that and be like, you know, I mean, actually, you know, it did reduce the number of human casualties, and you know.
But granted, it only needed to happen because they were trying to warmonger. So, but like,
Yes,
you know, I don't know why they like wanted to have this kind of like warrior culture subplot. Just based on like from the standard Gundam template, you know, like plot template. But I mean, I don't know. This is also the first series. I think it was maybe interesting to explore the concept of like, what does a soldier do when there is no more war? Right.
I think very interesting. Absolutely.
But I just don't think it explored that concept effectively enough. Right. Oh, specifically, I don't think Zex was the one to do that. I think if anything, it would have been it would have made more sense is if it was one of the Gundam pilots that ran into that problem. That like if one of the Gundam pilots became a member of the White Fang, because like Wu Fei honestly would probably be the one that made the most sense to me in some aspect. Maybe not with what they did eventually, which again, it's kind of in that realm. Like White Fang as a whole just doesn't end up making a whole lot of sense to like be like, they don't need to be here. But like if you were going to pick one of the Gundam pilots, like in a way I would say maybe Wu Fei, because he's kind of just like, all of his thing was about honor and being, you know, and being a soldier. And he hates women.
How did you feel about the other 4 main pilots?
Yeah. Okay. We can talk about that. I was going to say, because I feel like I've at least established clearly enough that like, I feel like the plot is okay. It's just like, I just kind of wished it picked one. But I think but like, that's the thing. I think the reason this show will always be looked at so positively is the fact that so many of the pilots are consistently so interesting when their name is not Wu Fei.
Yeah, I get you.
Wu Fei, unfortunately, I think just was. I think the issue with Wu Fei though was really like, I think the only time I think he really got to have that bit of like extra character development was when the first time that when they kind of shut down the Gundams, because they're, you know, Oz kind of, you know, they played them like a fiddle and made them kill the alliance leaders, especially the ones, because they were the ones gunning for peace. And, you know, they kind of made the whole thing of like, you know, as long as the Gundams hide, the colonies will be safe. Because the reality is, yeah, the Gundams are explicitly on the side of the colonies. And, you know, that's the thing, is that they, you know, so when he's shut down, and then, but he kind of is around and in a way helps out with the, I forget their like, I forget their name exactly, but they were like the rebels. Honestly, they kind of like reminded me of like the concept of that they were kind of like, they kind of reminded me of like French World War II rebels
Mm,
from like a aesthetic and kind of like motive standpoint.
yeah.
Yeah, Sally Poe
Mm-hmm.
and them those rebels. So like that was kind of the one time he got like a bit of development, I feel like. Because like they those rebels weren't necessarily happy with anyone, to be honest. Oz or the Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like so but like the rest of the pilots, I feel like I think you really got to learn and like get to know. And I think that's kind of why like so many of them get I feel like a lot of the wing Gundam pilots get sorry, like well, I guess they all did pilot it at one point. Like I feel like all of the Gundam pilots, it's just like they all get enough character to like make one way or the other somebody is interested in one of them, right? Like, like personally, like I love Duo. Like Duo, I think is just like, he's that classic '90s anime character, but
Yeah.
like also is, but like is just also like very sociable, very I don't know, just like he's fun to watch. He's kind of the jokester, so it kind of helps make it feel a little bit more lighthearted in many ways.
Which
And
is
so
funny
like
because he's the one who calls himself the god of death.
yes, which is
Like we were
funny.
talking about earlier.
I know which is so funny and specifically. I mean, honestly, I feel like even from a sub aspect, but just because like everything about him is so like jokey and goofy, and then he's like, "Oh man, I lost the god of death."
Oh no, the god of death.
No, the Reaper.
I know we're not talking about the mobile units yet, but Death Scythe is so cool.
Oh yeah.
So insanely cool. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
Yeah. But so and then I think Troa gets a lot of. I think he gets to be one of the. I do think he gets to be kind of one of the best like developed characters. Because I mean, he just gets between like when he's like trying to kind of begin to like work with the other when he's kind of like trying to start like getting the other Gundam pilots, like working with the other Gundam pilots. Like he's the first one to like actually kind of like move around with the other ones. And I think that was just like really it like helped him develop a lot faster as a character because just that meant he had to actually like do these fights but then also have these discussions, right? I mean, the scene where like he surrenders to Quatra, like it shows he had like already this immediate character to begin with, and then like and then it only develops more after he loses his memory and then regains his memory. And like the way he poses as an Oz soldier, it was fascinating to me. And man,
How did you feel about his
him and
his
whole
talents being used in the circus?
thing. Dick Grayson, is that you? I love that. No, it's just funny. Those were like good scenes just for like fun, like those are just kind of like fun. It was actually some of the circus scenes were actually used very effectively because and it let
I was
them
gonna say it's
show-
interesting. It's interesting because it's not just like a goofy side plot kind of thing. Like they keep
No.
he ends up returning back to the circus after like the amnesia and stuff like that. Like it becomes this like foundation for him, like a solid
Yeah.
ground that he returns back to.
Yeah, well, and not only that, but then
So it's fun, but it's also like really it's actually genuinely entwined into his character in a way that's really nice.
right. And like a big thing with that is, Catherine, who, is kind of becomes his like what I thought was going to be some type of love interest, but actually is instead it kind of just became like what she plays as a sisterly figure.
His sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Just straight up his sister.
Well, not like actually, but at least as at least as the show placates it, right? Wing alone. Wing solely does not be like, hey. I'm sorry. There's things about.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, I don't want to. Anyway, because like he's from the colony, right? Like, it's the whole thing. But yeah, so like when you're going into it for a while, it doesn't really placate that because like he enters the circus and they're like strangers, right?
Yeah.
So that's which maybe has like episode 0 stuff that I just don't really know about because obviously they don't talk about
we'll
that.
Get to it later.
But the way that she handles him is so interesting because especially like the knife scene where, she is seeing that he's like so immediately calm about everything,
Yeah.
it like works perfectly. Sorry. But yeah, then Quattro I thought was interesting. I mean, he kind of benefits from being like essentially like the privileged member of of the group. And he's probably the closest to being like your reluctant protagonist as the other members are.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it gave a lot of the others perspective, right? Because kind of like if something happened to him or he felt like something or he pushed for something, it made a lot of them kind of like it made a lot of them kind of understand. But he also is unfortunately when he's the first one to use the zero system, he obviously ends up creating this sense of like where it shows how much like he takes those he sees as allies and friends, I mean, he so desperately is constantly trying to make the Gundam pilots all friends with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, one way or the other, I think it like all of the Gundam pilots, they get something of interest. But I will note, I think what kind of disappointed me was the lack of shift in Hero. Hero just kind of stays this 100% serious. All I think about is being a soldier guy. He doesn't really shift away from it as much until like the very end.
It happens much later for sure.
It's like
He is
legit
somebody who is
two
like
episodes.
extremely super focused on the mission, on being a soldier, self-disciplined, like almost to the point of just like lacking humanity. Like I am more soldier than I am person. I'm incredibly focused on what I'm doing. Anyone who tries to get in my way is kind of an obstacle to that. And he's like that, yeah, like you say, for a long portion of the series.
Yeah, and that to me is a tricky deal because I get to the point of the plot, like what they're going with the plot, why they do that, right? But at the same time, I think what bothers me about it is I still want. I'm supposed to believe that he and Raylina have mutual feelings for each other. I don't know where that is. The fact that he didn't actually kill her is supposed to be my sign that he loves her. Like that's
Yeah, he kind of hits this transition point where he becomes
like, what?
more interested in keeping her safe than what we joked about at the very beginning of this.
Yeah, but like it's only
episode here.
moderate, and then at the very, very end, does he seem to show a modicum of like, I'll come back for you.
Yeah, I actually care
You know?
about you.
But like it's very end, and he just doesn't he doesn't really change. And it's more, and granted, like again, it goes into that plot point of like, what is a soldier when there is no war to fight, or like what is a soldier but just constantly searching for war and all of that. And that I got, but I feel like something to just show a little bit of the like, because like especially if they were gonna go that Zex was gonna be the one to hit the deep end and be like, we can only ever fight, and Hero is supposed to be the one that sees that war can end and we can see another side. Maybe I would have liked him to maybe say that once, even before the last 5 episodes,
instead of it being an implicit thing, have him actually.
If he could have come to this realization at like episode like 32, versus at 46 or something, like, it's just like that. It just would have at least helped. But there's 2 characters I want to talk about. Which first, this is gonna be brief, right? But they're the last 2 characters I kind of want to go over, not for like overall plot aspects, but just because I have questions about them in general. What the fuck is Lady Yune?
Listen, Lady Yune.
Why did they have to go with this like personality disorder thing?
The thing to understand about Lady Yune is that she's very difficult to understand. Next question.
Yeah. It was weird to go that route because it comes to nowhere. It comes out of nowhere, and I don't understand why it exists. Why it happens isn't really explained, and it's just like, all right, I guess. I mean, is she supposed to represent the kind of like the split personality of Oz itself? Like, someone explain to me. I'm clearly too stupid. Someone explain to me in the comments why does Lady Yune have this personality disorder, and why is it okay? Because otherwise,
I think the second question there is the more interesting one, because it's definitely being like established that she has like sort of a dissociative disorder where it's not the like stereotypical like anime trope of like woman who is sadistic or psychotic. You know what I mean? Like they're definitely trying to portray her as somebody who has like different personalities that she is sort of struggling with. But yeah, I think your second question there of like why do it that way? What does it serve is definitely more interesting, because I personally don't. I came away from it not feeling like it was resolved in a meaningful way that really like had a larger effect on the story at all. I think it's something where I would be curious if they were to do something like this in a more modern sense. Like if they were to, in a hypothetical situation where they were to like remake Gundam Wing in the present day, like I would be curious to see if they would change anything about how they handled Lady Une.
Yeah, I don't know. But the other character that props up over time is the Queen of Eyebrows herself, Dorothy Catalonia. Her wild ass eyebrows aside, what actually I find fascinating about, she's such an interesting character because she's supposed to be, this, and I'll talk about, don't worry, I will talk about Raylina. Anybody's been like, how could you talk about this? Well, I'll talk about Raylina.
No, I was going to make sure that we did.
But like, she's supposed to be the counter to Raylina, right? Because Raylina is
Relena, if I'm not mistaken, is how that should be pronounced.
I don't remember.
I think it was. I'm trying to remember from when I watched it a couple weeks ago. I feel like I remember the dub being Relena.
I don't remember.
It's another one of those things where you can definitely let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I forgot.
Sometimes those dubs get a little goofy with the name.
She just gets called, especially because she just gets called Madam or Miss Peacecraft often at some point. So
that's true. It's very true.
That's kind of why, like, I forgot. Either way, she's supposed to be like
Dorothy.
the flip, right? She wants nothing but war.
Other side of the coin.
Yeah. But the thing is, what ends up kind of being showcased is that their goals are the same. They both want peace. It's just one thinks it can only be done through war, and the other thinks the opposite. And like I mentioned, the show actually kind of more illustrates that Dorothy is kind of correct, which I feel like is maybe not the intention of the show, which I kind of wonder maybe why.
Interesting.
Which I wonder.
It's an interesting thing that I personally find really appealing about this specific show.
I think it's appealing. My concern is just whether or not it's intentional. Because if it's not intentional, then it's kind of
whether or not
a writing
this was
issue.
what the creators wanted. Yeah.
Right. But like, I think it's fascinating to showcase that. Because the quote unquote good thing does not always have to be the true thing in your show. Right. Or whatever you write. But what because I wanted to get to that, because it goes, the fact that then she at the end of the show gets paired with Quattro, right? Because like, I understand where maybe, look, people, I don't know the actual online opinion, right? But I could see it where maybe people see her and are like, God, I hate her. God, she's the worst. She's so annoying. I think she's great. When it comes to this show,
I'm so.
I can't say obviously anything for Endless Waltz.
So happy.
But when it comes to just this show, she's great because
I'm so happy.
I love that she's such a piece of shit at the beginning, like to Beastcraft. She's so like she's like the perfect hater. Like she's such a hater.
She is,
and I love her for
100% a hater.
I love her for it because she does it so
great.
well. This perfect Two-Face, because she's a villain, right? That's the thing. She's the villain. You're not supposed to like her right now, and so I love that. Because I'm a fucking 40K guy, so of course I love good villains, but like. She's the villain, so like I love the way that she is, because it also ends up then being such a great finale then, right? Because she takes command of the dolls. She sees her grandfather die, which is funny enough though. I love that motivates her.
Oh yeah,
no, that
just
happens.
Pushes her further.
That just motivates her, which is amazing.
Yes,
but like. Like she is like when if anything, that's what she should have been. Like if anybody was going to just purely lead the white Fang, I mean, it definitely needed to just be her, but then also, but like, yeah, who would be in the mobile suit? And I get that, But like if their whole point was to still be using the mobile dolls, right? Her whole like command unit for it would have made her like a good just singular villain instead of it also being Zex or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aside. You know, so but Dorothy being the one that ends up kind of being the White Fang like mobile doll pilot and then having this, you know, kind of getting grouped with Quattro at some point where, you know, he's trying to, she's kind of like, now they're having this conflict of ideology that she's constantly had with Raylina. If I continue to say it wrong, I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it the way I've been saying it in my head.
I definitely came into this. Wing has a lot of name pronunciations that are a little more difficult to
yeah,
to kinda
like
wrestle with. So I apologize on behalf of our show for any mispronunciations
like,
we do.
For example, freaking cans for Quinze, but supposedly pronounced cans
Yeah.
or Kanza. Whatever. Anyway, yeah. So like now it's a different person though, right? Now it is a warrior. Now he's being talked to by a Gundam pilot, but she has this duel, and she truly like ends up like it shifts, and she sees everything, and you know it's so interesting because just kind of like as they kind of fight, you know, it almost works as a therapy for her, this fencing match that they end up having, because you know she hates it. She admits that she does hate war because it took her father's life. You know, and yeah, but like, you know, and that like there's kind of, she gets like a little bit of seeming regret, right?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of works out. But so like I just felt like she was a great villain, but like
Definitely.
she then got like a very quick and kind of immediate redemption, which I didn't mind either.
Something I wondered about with Dorothy, and it hadn't occurred to me before. It was just on this most recent watch that I thought of it. Mm-hmm. Apologies if this feels like basic, but I'm really curious if when Trigger created Kill la Kill, which aired in 2013, I'm really curious if the character of Satsuki was based, at least in part, on Dorothy Catalonia. Because I feel like I definitely was seeing a lot of similarities between the two of them. Not even including the eyebrows, keeping the eyebrows out of it.
Well, hers Satsuki's aren't like dual layered, I don't think. They don't.
No, she doesn't have like Emperor Penguin brows.
Yeah.
But they're very, very prominent. But I was definitely, that was like a thing that struck me right away. I was like, wow, this actually, I'm curious if this was in some way like an influence for the creation of that character.
I don't know. Their hair has some similarity, but Dorothy doesn't really have any bangs visible.
But I mean, think about more the character itself.
Yeah, the
sort of no nonsense,
strong,
you know, personality that they take, this sort of leadership role. Yeah, I don't know. It's something I'd have to look into on my own time to see if there was any influence there. But I am very glad that you enjoyed Dorothy, because I think she's great as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about Raylina Peacecraft. So
Raylina,
because she's so important. She is realistically like she is the true protagonist, right?
Mhm.
The boys are just a function for Gundam fights. But like the real plot develops with her. And you know, like as much as I kind of disagree or like maybe doubt her ability to like to truly like or that like her ideals are truly like
Just her ideas
attainable
about
or like
pacifism,
yeah that they are like truly
being able to
attainable,
attain actual peace. Yeah.
but like I get not like attain the peace but like to do it in the way that she wants to. And what I think I really like, but like what is interesting about the way that she develops is, when I think a really good standpoint to that is when she gets captured by the Ramafellers. Cause
Mhm.
I'm like, all right, you just got to be like, fuck the Ramafellers, and then go on that live broadcast and be like, I'm a hostage. Fuck these guys. They're pieces of shit. Like, because like whether like if they do anything to her, right, they're gonna know, right? People would know. She'd put them in like a crazy bind. So like, first of all, crazy gamble by the Rockefeller Foundation to think that she won't do that on a live
Yes,
feed, right?
certainly.
Because it's like the second you cut the feed, you do anything, bro, it's game over. It's over. It's a wrap. Even if you kill her, your reputation is ruined, right? So part of me was kind of like, just do it. Just call him out. But she doesn't. She
Yeah.
instead is just like, I'm a beat this shit from the inside. I'm gonna essentially
Hmm.
be the poison in the water supply. And that was, I think, one of the really good things to really showcase like how just and how inherently like high-minded she is, right? Like she's incredibly she's incredibly intelligent. She has a lot of understanding about, and very quickly, mind you, about this whole matter of war. Now, granted, they were gonna put her down. I'm not. It was just I was more. My point was about like my concept of them doing it, but like
Yeah, certainly.
um I did always find it interesting because like yeah, like when the Roma fellers kind of make their like big move, right? And they're like, we're kind of gonna be in charge and everything that we're gonna kind of remove this whole peaceful Oz segment of ourselves, right? And the but like the I found it interesting where it was just kind of like eventually she just kind of gets to like walk out where it's just like, all right, we're gonna put Trey's back in charge. Get the fuck out. I
Yeah.
did find that funny because again, they probably just realized though if they were gonna actually like kill her, it would probably do worse for what their plans are, which is to kind of be a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know. Like everything kind of comes to a head with her, and obviously then everything else once we get to the whole Libra thing, right? Because the like Battleship Libra thing is just like this whole. Because again, it goes into my White Fang thing, which I feel like I already kind of went with my issues, and I feel like Libra only exacerbates this concept, right? Like I talked about why I think the White Fang shouldn't have existed. I kind of went over like my dislike for it in the plot. that they just kind of, it feels forced. Like, we could have just continued to fight the Romefeller Foundation and call it a plot. Like, it just kind of felt like it was just like, here's another one. So I don't know. Tell me, I guess. What you tell me? Like, is there anything specific about the whole, like, the Libra aspect of the final conflict that, like, should be discussed, or do you feel like I've kind of talked about it with my White Fang feelings?
It's interesting because we haven't actually mentioned the Libra specifically, but we've definitely, as we've discussed, you know, sort of the people around it, if that makes any sense. Like, we've unintentionally talked around it.
Yeah.
As we've discussed everyone's sort of motivations, and then, like, having the multiple different factions that are going on. You know, I think the big thing with Libra is that it's almost like we were joking about Gundam Wing and how it seems like everybody has a turn with Gundam Wing, you know? And there's a similar thing happening with Libra where, like, the ship almost seems to exist as a way for everybody to kind of get their kicks in about what they think the ultimate resolution should be.
Yeah.
I don't love it.
No.
I'm not a big fan of the Libra overall, both its design and also the purpose that it serves in the story. 'Cause, I mean, by the end of it, it becomes, you know, it's Zex's thing that he's, you know, the cannon gets diffused and he's like, fine, I'm just gonna drop the entirety of the Libra on Earth and create a nuclear winter.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of the way that it kind of gets reduced to that.
No, and I think it's compounded. It and the Peace Million have the same issues of their existence to me, which is they appear out of nowhere. They between Oz itself and then White Fang taking over, you know, like they both showcase into this segment, right? But it's just like, you know, it's just another instance of when you get to the end of the series and it's suddenly just everything is just like, and here's this thing. So it's like, first, like, you know, Zex is kind of out there doing his own thing, and it's like, and here's the Peace Million. Look, he's out here being Milliardo Peacecraft on the Peace Million, and he's doing stuff. And then he decides to join the White Fang. So he's like, fuck you, Peace Million. And then the Peace Million's like, all right, I'll work with you, Gundam. And then all of a sudden, the Libra's being piloted by Zex. Wop, wop. Like, it's just like, yeah, both of the ships have the same problem, which is they appear to nowhere. They get a very basic explanation to their existence, and they don't really add anything to the actual show itself. And so then you know, but just to be a plot device, you know.
Yes. I think it also, for me personally, it's, I can't imagine a lot of people agree with me on this, but it gets to a point where it feels too derivative of the Axis from Char's counterattack. Where it, like I say, it eventually kind of, the conflict centers, it's like, yeah, we need to have the conflict center around this battleship or this base or this thing that is within, you know, that is near Earth and is a threat to Earth. And in both cases, it ends up being a case of like, all right, this thing is now going to hurtle towards Earth as a sort of a parallel to a colony drop.
Yeah.
And that is now like the primary thing that needs to be stopped or prevented. And I feel like you can only do that so many times until it becomes kind of a derivative thing. And obviously I don't expect and everybody that's watched Wing to have also seen Char's counterattack beforehand. Like, obviously, that's going to be a much smaller audience that's done that.
Right.
But because I have, and for the purposes of this series, we've kind of revisited those. It's hard for me to not think about how that feels like kind of a retread of what's already been done with Axis before.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, so like overarching when it comes to the show itself, right? It's still a great show, and I think it has a lot of good things going for it. Like, there's nothing about the show is explicitly bad, but I think what I've come to learn is like everybody, especially like when I've kind of like from like gauging things on the internet with like the fandom, is one way or the other though, like everybody finds these things that they like really attach to series with, right? And I feel like one of the things that seems to feel kind of apparent to me is I wonder if it's just like a lot of people go under very bad first impressions, or if maybe they run into scenarios where like this is the first, or this is how I felt about it then based on these circumstances, and therefore that's how I'll feel about it for the rest of my life, kind of thing. But so like obviously I'm coming into these with a very like not only just adult mindset where like my sense of mysticism and wonder died a long time ago. So I'm just watching these as a guy who is just trying to find literally anything to not have to deal with the horrors of the current world we live in.
We're still determining if Warhammer was also the cause of that, but that's
It's
an
100%
ongoing
the cause of that. But again, it's just like, so like to me, when I'm watching these, I watch all of them and I enjoy it. And one way or the other, like every one of these series that I have watched, and as far as I know, will likely watch for many of them, I'll find things that I greatly enjoy about it, right? Because we're about to get into the thing that's the best part. But,
Okay.
the show, like as a plot and like as a show, right? I think it's just the thing that I talk about, which is that I think it has it conflicts, I feel like, with what it wants to tell you and then what it does. And it's my feelings exactly on Relina's position in the show, right? She's meant to be this sense of pacifism, yet there is no pacifism. There is self-defense in some scenarios, but there is no true pacifism. And it's just, it ends up being disjointed. There ends up being like,
you're saying it's reactive instead of proactive, like
no,
because
I'm just
the
saying,
idea
like,
of
the way that their pacifism works, right? Like there is no true pacifism in the show anywhere, but like, and like for example, like Gundanium is supposed to be this super rare shit, and then suddenly, nope, Oz made 3 secretly, I guess, because sure, fuck it. And that's and then we get into this, and then the Zero system is this whole thing where it's like this psychosis thing, and it's just like it ends up being too much. So, and that's kind of what I feel like gets into my general view of the show, right? Which is that a lot of things become too much, and there's too much different concepts of what the plot wants to be. There's too many villains and there's too many messages. It just needed to consolidate a little bit, and then it honestly probably would have been a perfect show. But no show's perfect. So It is what it is.
I have a question that I want to ask you, but yes. I know you said that you had like there's another must talk thing for us.
Well, you know what it is.
But I feel like this is the right time and place to ask this.
Yeah.
As as just in general, having now rewatched Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, do you prefer it to Mobile Suit Gundam 0079?
Honestly, I really love the kind of, I do love the scrappy nature and the like uniqueness feeling of the Gundam in 79. Like I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously then you get to this show where it's like Gundam are everywhere. But that being said, it still does do that. So in some extent, right? The Gundams still are special. And so honestly, I would say between the two, and I'll say, and this is only between the original like 0079, because again, we have not watched Zeta. Because Zeta could be its own unique thing. I do like Wing overall more than 79. But it's not
Do you,
just because of the plot. It's because of the
sure.
whole package.
Do you want to hear something crazy?
What?
I think we've established on this series so far that I am extremely passionate about 0079.
Yeah.
And that a lot of my love for Gundam in general is directed towards that series and its characters.
Yeah.
Wing obviously was important growing up, being introduced to Gundam. And outside of that, it wasn't a series that I had frequently gone back to and rewatched. 0079 very much took over as like, this is, for me, this is what Prime Gundam is. This is what when someone asks me what is Gundam, this is how I define it. And Wing, my opinion of Wing was always that it's very good, but it's not the first thing that I personally think of.
Yes.
Rewatching Wing, I have to admit, I am starting to wonder if I still feel that way. And it was really interesting to rewatch this show and sort of grapple with this weird sensation where now that I've seen 0079 and I'm so familiar with it, I'm actually really impressed by how this series takes those themes and in some ways I almost feel like improves upon them. And I came away liking Gundam Wing quite a bit. Yeah. And I'm admittedly wondering to myself if maybe it's not 100% thing, but I'm wondering if maybe I do in the future, if I end up coming back to Gundam Wing more than 0079 and it kind of overtakes that spot for me as like, this is what I think of when I think of, peak Gundam, if you will.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't expecting that. And it was a pleasant surprise to be, because we did Char's Counterattack before and I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it, but I definitely came away from that rewatching and that discussion with you as like, wow, there's some real, murky spots to this film that in my nostalgia I wasn't really thinking about or accounting for. And I'm just really impressed with Gundam Wing, how it actually, we had criticisms and things of that nature as well with Wing, but wow, it really held up for me. And I'm genuinely surprised by that. I'm surprised by how well Gundam Wing held up and like very happy about it. And I didn't expect to be in this position, and it makes me excited for approaching other series in the future that I haven't seen in a long time, because those could there's a possibility that those also really hold up in a way that I didn't expect them to. And I'm
I think
really
there's
glad
a lot of
we saw
Gundam
it.
fans that could deal with this type of retrospective.
Listen, we love Char so much, and
Yeah,
it's
but I think
weird to rewatch
yeah.
this and hit a point where I'm genuinely asking myself whether or not I need to consider that Zex Merquise is somehow in some way an improvement over Char. Like they took Char's foundation, a great character, mind you, and may have improved on it and like genuinely made an even more compelling and interesting character out of it.
Now, granted, I wouldn't.
And yeah,
I wouldn't. Yeah, sorry.
that's gonna be tough to deal with because Char is Char and we love him and he is best boy. But I like that. I like being thrown off by. Again, I haven't admittedly thought about Zex Merquise in that way. I don't think ever. And that was a big takeaway for me from this viewing was like, man, this show's doing a lot of things that I am really impressed by.
Well, and a big thing. So, granted, I think a lot of people, the Char that they truly like fall in love with and work with is Quattro, right? Like I think that's the one.
What are you
that,
talking
like,
about? That's Quattro Bagina's a different person.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I don't
You're
follow.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. But like, I think so when we watch Zeta, I think that will help, but
Sure.
maybe give at least perspective to see, maybe give you clarity on like how your feelings are. But I want to talk about what is inherently the best part of the show, the Gundam.
Yes, this is what we can wrap up with is the Gundam themselves.
Because now I want to.
Holy cow!
Yeah, I mean, so when because there are the 5 main Gundam which we start with, which is Wing, Death Scythe, Heavy Arms, Sandrock, and Shenlong. However, the Wing, and then when we find Gundam Epion later, we get to learn about something called the Zero System. And because I want to end on something positive, I want to talk about my negativity about this first, which is
okay.
I think the concept of the Zero System is solid. The idea of essentially adding psychosis and like effectively like a self-thinking Gundam to work with a soldier themselves is an interesting thought. The like essentially having it make them go crazy and then also making Zex betray everything he cared about and knows and everything kind of dumb. I didn't like that. And so Zero System to me is mixed bag. I feel very mixed about it. That being
It's another
said,
thing. It's another thing that reminds me of Char's counterattack.
Yes.
With how they handled Quest and her being sort of her inability to sort of maintain control over her new type abilities and the way that sort of slowly drives her mad. It definitely reminded me of that. Yeah,
but the Gundam that they are used in, sick as fuck. So
every single Gundam you mentioned is a banger. They're all bangers.
They're all bangers. And then that's the thing. And then they get customized versions later. So, we get the Wing Zero, which looks much like the Wing, but again, enhanced. Also is given it goes from having the big gun to the big fuck gun. And then like Death Scythe gets these like wings. Heavy Arms looks very similar.
Let's be real. Heavy Arms,
the cannon,
not super different.
The heavy cannon is what's different. It goes from being a Gatling gun to more of like a pure like. Actually, no, it's 2 Gatling guns. It goes from 1 to 2.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say Sandrock is the one that gets like the least changes. It literally is.
Sandrock gets a different shield,
about the same, barely looking at them, they're like the same. No, the shield.
No,
is the
you know
same.
what? You're right. I was thinking of Death Scythe. My apologies. I was thinking of Death Scythe.
Yeah,
Sandrock
Death Scythe
is pretty
gets
similar.
relatively different. Yeah. Also, dude,
Death Scythe is
Death Scythe
the
Hell gets one of the best introductions of all of these fucking Gundam.
it's so
It's
good.
so good. They are just fighting. Like, these dudes are just fighting. They know nothing. And then all of a sudden they just bump into nothing and they're like, what the fuck is this? And then just fucking appears. It's so good.
So cool.
So goated. I don't know this opinion or not. I think the actual like design, like the shape between Shenlong and Ultron Gundam, I think the like actual body, like like the head design, really mainly just like the head design, I think is better on Ultron. I think.
Oh, interesting.
I like the legs more too. But yeah, I think while like I like the relooking at this, the grapple arms I like too. Yeah, so like I would say the overall body shape of Ultron I like more, but I like the color scheme of the Shenlong way more. Like,
Yes.
and I kind of miss it's kind of a bummer that he loses the staff too. The like bow staff was kind of. I wish there was just more of a mix, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Like Death Scythe glow up, you know, where it was glowed up, but it still retained its like sources there, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
there's no
But yeah.
there's no bad
there's no bad Gundam.
mobile
There's
unit
no bad
among the
There's no
bunch.
bad.
And this is something that is genuinely like you have to admit. I'm talking to y'all at home. You gotta admit, if we're talking about Universal Century and 0079, these mobile units absolutely crush the original mobile units.
Oh my God.
By and far. I highly doubt that's like a controversial opinion. I'm sure
I
everyone
think
can agree.
the only one that maybe you could give me the argument, especially just on like just pure icon status alone. I forgot the model name, but Amuro's final Gundam in Char's counterattack.
Yeah, I get you.
That is a pretty goated Gundam, but like these, especially just this is when because again it was after G Gundam, right? We're moving the first time really outside of, because even in Zeta, when you look at Zeta's design, it's not a whole lot extra, you know?
Yeah.
And even Amuro's final Gundam is not super extra, right? Like they're not. These is when they like this. Like G Gundam was the first time they really got to kind of go buck wild on designs.
Yeah.
And so when they went back to this kind of more very like serious, not explicitly fight focused series, they're like, let's cook a little bit though. Still, you know,
We haven't even, I don't think, you can go back and listen through the episode again and check. We haven't even said the words Tallgeese.
No,
and
and
Tallgeese is one of the most iconic mobile suit units in the entirety of Gundam's history.
that isn't like, especially like one
Period.
that like isn't a Gundam. And yes, we have not talked
Yes.
about Tallgeese, which is a crime because
It is a crime.
inevitably It is.
We should be arrested.
It is the. It is one of the important aspects to showing why Zex is so good. Because the whole thing about the first Tallgeese is it's way too fast. The whole thing was it failed testing because it was too fast. Essentially, it would kill the pilot. And Zex was just like, yeah, but I'm him, so I'm going to pilot the Tallgeese.
You must not have heard of me.
And then they build a second Tallgeese. And it only gets better from there. And like, yeah, like the tall geese is so, granted, I think I like the all white tall geese. I do.
You
I'm a
prefer
mix.
tall geese to tall geese too?
I like tall geese two's head, but like
Yeah,
I
the
think,
crest is really cool.
but I like the all white, and then the shield having the eagle icon.
The shield is so cool, man.
Yeah, it's,
oh my
because
god.
the shield's there in Tall Geese 2. Like Tall Geese 2 is essentially like 80%, 90% the same, you know? It's mainly just the head and the paint color that make it different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like it's still just like it's still, they're both great.
Yeah.
And I just, yeah,
They are for years. It's been for years and years, and it will continue on for years to come. Just like how many people in the Gunpla community that build model kits, how much like Tall Geese is almost like a go-to. It is like everybody. It's like a rite of passage that everybody who engages in Gunpla, at some point you are going to build a Tall Geese, whether it's Tall Geese 2, or Tall Geese 3. Which we didn't even doesn't even come into play here.
I know, yeah.
But like, yeah, that it is so synonymous with like the top tier Gundam units. It's just great. This series it's another one of those things that I genuinely somehow like not forget, but I just was not fully appreciating that, like, right, all these amazing iconic designs came from this series.
Yeah. Because, like, look, Epion is an MCR
Goated
listener's dream, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It is like the emo-iest Gundam.
Yes, we'll carry on.
But like, it's good. Like, it's just, but like, that's not a bad thing.
No, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's so good. Its only real flaw is that essentially it's essentially just like the evil Gundam. Like, its only flaw is the writing it was given.
Sure.
Which is a true bummer. It didn't deserve that fate. But like yeah, Epion is so good. Now the general like doll and like, you know, original Oz mobile suit with like their like mono eye where it's essentially almost like a big screen. I'm not really that I'm not crazy about. I thought it was clearly they were trying to differentiate from Xeon, and that's fair.
Yeah.
It just didn't hit for me.
I really like the dolls as a concept. We had spoken about them earlier. I really, really like. I think it's a cool concept to approach in not just this series, but in a genre that is so strongly associated with. You know, it's not just about robots; it's about robots and the people who pilot them.
Yes,
but I agree that
I agree. But
it feels like for the actual designs themselves, it definitely feels like they wanted to just kind of like do Zaku, but different. They wanted to kind of just like approach Zaku in a different way,
which I felt like became clear when you got to the Vaiete and the Mercurius, because they have similar body shapes to a Zaku, but like very round, but like still different enough where it's not like very clear like, oh, that's a Zaku. But I could just like see where like the thought is there, you know?
Do you like Taurus and its many spikes?
The cone head, no. It's not. I'm not crazy
not
about
a fan.
It's okay. Like the Taurus and its, you know, whether it's white or dark, like I don't know, it's like a maroon.
Like yeah, it's got a few different versions. I'm not defending Taurus either. I'm definitely more of like an Aries or a Pisces guy.
It's okay. It's okay. It's just not. I'm not crazy about it. You know. But other than that, I mean, like
they're great designs. Like I say, there's no design I look at and I'm like, God, this is ugly.
Like these are so they're they all hit. The Tragos maybe is like the one ugly duckling, but you know,
Yeah, I get
it
you.
doesn't matter. It's just a random thing that shows up. So who cares?
I feel like I could fix him.
But other than that, I mean, the thing that always hits me with this show is the sound effects. Too.
Yeah, man.
Classic Gundam sound effects just hit different, dude.
By this point, the 0079 sound effects are great. I'm pretty sure we talked about them in our discussion. But by this point in time, the showrunners, the creators have utterly like mastered their sound design. And Wing really benefits from that. It feels like this is the point where it's like they have fully mastered just creating the most iconic sound effects.
Just that 90s like especially like that electric like robotic like clank sound that they use. It's just iconic. Cuz I mean, it inevitably got passed around, but like it's just iconic.
Like Gundam Wing.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's iconic and it's so good. And I mean, I love everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Guess who's exclusively using their backup audio because their new DAW just stopped recording? This guy.
Ooh.
Good to know. It only likes recording up to 15 minutes. Never mind. I won't be using this one. Hey, good to know.
That might not be helpful.
That won't interest the audience, but it's just,
we do.
You know, if I don't sound amazing, that's why. You now know. Well over an hour and a half, 2 hours in. But Dylan will sound great.
I always do.
But yeah, so the yeah, I mean the mobile suits just hit, the Gundams especially. And you know, the Gundanium Ally, maybe a question, but again, this was a show where like I think the plot was decent but struggled near the end. But if I think if it was made just a little bit shorter and had refined itself, it would literally be like the perfect Gundam series. Which there isn't one. So I think to say that is inherently high praise, you know?
I believe there's a perfect Gundam series, but we'll get to that in the future.
You know what? You're right. I generally refuse to believe any series
could
truly be perfect.
To be clear,
but
I'm being a stinker, and you're right.
Well, I was gonna say I'm
just saying I got something in the pocket.
Some series, sure. So I could think of maybe some series that I'm sure I know a lot of people. There's a huge fan base for it, but
just something in the pocket for later. Just keeping it in the pocket. But yeah,
I don't know if the
Marshall, that's Gundam Wing there, and
but
what? No, don't worry about it. What's that? Oh, somebody else is using Gundam Wing. Hey, we just talked about Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, and that series was really great. We both ended up really enjoying it, which is awesome.
Yes.
So I think that about covers it for this series, and it was awesome. I'm trying to think what I have as like a final thought because I think we really covered.
I think it's one of those things where I think in a lot of these episodes, I'll often give a lot of critiques, but like I said, there's going to be ones where I will find it in every series, right? There will always be there.
Yeah.
You know, I think we didn't do it as much in 0079 because we did a lot of plot talking instead of just like giving opinions.
Mm-hmm.
where if I had done that, I think I would have more quickly kind of just been like, and there were points where I did that, right? I had my crash out about the cut and all that. But like that being said, you know, it's like when you have the benefit of watching a full series, you get a better grasp of what you can truly like critique. And you know, it's just one of, and like, but like, and I bring that stuff up because it's just like, man, if I just really wanted it to be this way, you know?
Yeah.
But like, nevertheless, I'm incredibly excited to hopefully be able to see Endless Waltz. Is there anything about when that's coming to theaters, or was there anything else about that?
I need to look back into it again. What the dates were for the Endless Waltz re-release.
Yeah, I need to watch that. I would love to watch it in a theater.
I definitely, I think a good thing for us to do would be to have kind of a follow up where we cover Endless Waltz and we cover episode 0. And I can also talk to you about Frozen Teardrops. I don't think I'll make you read Frozen Teardrops. Okay. If you want to, that's awesome. I don't think I'll make you. If you're cool with it, I can also just do a recap of that with you.
Sounds good.
Where I explain, I do my own, explanation of the plot of that, and I can use like puppets or something if we want to do it that way.
Okay. Well, otherwise, looking forward, unless within that theater thing happens within this next month, our next episode is going to end up being on Gundam Seed. Like our next Gundam episode is going to be on Gundam Seed.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, have I got things to say. Remember when I talked about how I might upset people? I might upset people.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, using the wise words from Gundam Wing, I will say it's just love. And we'll expand on that further when we talk about Gundam Seed. But when I think of Seed, hey man, it's just love.
Just love.
It's just love.
All right. See you next time.
Goodbye.